Okay, so we're live now with Robert Thompson, my friend. He's out of Wellness with Robert, and I wanted to have him on because I think he's a really interesting person. He has a really interesting story. He is a great healer as well as the other people I've had on here. I've personally had a session with him. He's had sessions with me. Uh, and it's just an honor to have you on, Robert. So Robert does he's a Reiki master, just as I am. And so I kind of wanted to touch on first what got you into wanting to pursue Reiki? Like how did you hear about it? And then why did you want to do it as a practice?
First of all, thank you so much for the kind words. And yeah, what got me into Reiki was after having a session done, actually, it's called Disclosure Fest. It's like a big kind of music festival and spiritual kind of expo. And I got there pretty early and I was walking around and making my way along all the booths. And I made eye contact with this woman like 30 yards away and was just like drawn to her and went over, started talking to her, and she was a quantum healer. And she's like, "Yeah, if you want a 15-minute session," and gave me the rundown. And I was like, "Absolutely." Lay down on the table. She started working on me, and it was more shamanic. She was definitely making a lot of sounds, and I could tell she was about 3 feet behind me and just felt this energy in my chest building, building, and kind of like getting stuck in like my heart area. And after, it was profound for me to kind of feel this energy. And after having that experience, she literally described exactly what I went through. She's like, "Yeah, you definitely had some blocks here." And it was interesting because it was right after I'd went through a breakup. So I was like raw and yeah, that's kind of what got me into the energy healing world. I was kind of more on my spiritual journey. And shortly after, I was talking to my aunt, my step aunt, actually. My mom remarried. I've only known her for a couple years. Her name's Suzanne. And I was on the phone with her and I was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about learning Reiki and just getting into energy healing." She's like, "No way, I'm a Reiki master. I'm getting ready to go co-teach a course in Washington if you want to go." And yeah, I went and got my level 1 certificate in Washington. And yeah, I've just been fascinated with, first of all, Reiki and just different healing modalities and the way that energy affects our body. And that led me to finding a teacher nearby and found Claudia, who has been amazing, which ultimately led to meeting you as well. So yeah, it's been a great journey so far.
Nice, nice. So when you found, I'm not sure if, so she was a quantum healer. I don't know if she was also doing Reiki, but it's kind of in that sort of space. But you had mentioned it was at kind of a spiritual festival. So before that, what was your first quote unquote awakening experience like? What led you to that?
Interesting. So I would say I've had two stages of my awakening. One was roughly about 10 years ago. And yeah, I was addicted to heroin and not in a good place. And one day I was walking along the beach, and it was actually the day after the first time that I took acid. And psychedelics have definitely played a big part in my healing journey as well. But the first time I took acid, the next day I'm still kind of feeling it walking along the beach. And this voice like came to me. It was the first time I'd ever like heard, a distinct voice that it was obviously in my own tone, but I could tell this is like a divine calling. It was, what if you stayed clean? And it was literally the first time in my life that I'd considered stopping doing drugs, cleaning up my act, and really kind of just like started going down the path of what my life would look like and just became fascinated with that idea. And that was honestly the beginning of my healing journey and spiritual awakening was, cleaning up my act. And it still took a good year of going to rehab and trying and failing, and ultimately, which led me to stay clean for many years. So
Wow. And so you had taken acid, and then I'm sure there may have been things before that that made you think, maybe, or maybe from other people telling you, maybe you should stop, maybe you should get clean. But what was it about that experience specifically that really like moved you?
yeah, it's my life was going down. Like I was in and out of jail, homeless at times. It was not good where I was at. And obviously, everybody around me is telling me, you need help, you need to go to rehab. And it never even crossed my mind. I was like so content doing what I was doing that this moment of having the idea for myself was profound. It was something I never experienced. It was something I never even considered. And yeah, that's what made it so profound was just the fact that it was the first time I'd even considered that thought.
Hmm. Like it did something to you that it made it clear that this is a possibility where before it just couldn't get through.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, that was interesting, but so then you get clean, but you're still spiritual. So what is that like? What was that process like? Like having there's a grieving process that goes on, but how do you find yourself again? What things did you do? Like what was that experience like?
Yeah, so it was rough. The first couple years of trying to get sober was not fun. I went to AA, I did the 12 steps, and through doing the 12 steps, there's a lot of inner work that you do. You take accountability for your actions, you make amends to people, you look at all your character defects. And, it was a rough process, an eye-opening process. And yeah, it was really me rebuilding my life. I was in sober living for a while. And, I wasn't working for years prior, so getting a job and really just building my life back and kind of stabilizing myself was what I went through for several years.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's like sometimes it feels like when you're in addiction that like you're literally you're the same person, but you're not. Like it's almost like it's a different entity. And then when you get clean, it's like you have to it's like that person dies and then it's like well, who am I now? And you also have to inevitably like let go of a lot of friendships and alliances and that can feel like really lonely also. So that's like I just want to say congratulations that you've been able to stay on that path. Um, and I wanted to talk about because this is something that I think you and I both have in common is trusting your intuition. Like you really live your life just following your gut, not giving a fuck, like just, hey, this is what I feel. I'm gonna do it. I don't care what society or what's deemed as normal. Like I'm just gonna do it. So how did you come to that conclusion that that's the way you wanted to live your life, and what has that been like for you?
Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely. So it really came down to once I started noticing, I feel like I was just divinely guided, especially for the last, 5 years in particular, 10 years, getting clean and everything, looking back in hindsight. There's so many synchronicities that happened that aligned up that it made it undoubtable for me to not have trust in the universe and, a higher power or source, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, really leaning into what I feel I should be doing, not listening to, not comparing myself to other people, not because a lot of my journey was going down rabbit holes and looking into conspiracy theories, and that was how I spent the first like couple years of my spiritual journey is going down the dark path, looking and seeing what's really going on here. And that's a dark place to stay in, and leading that kind of led me to understanding it's okay, like you don't need to fit in. And once I kind of had that like comfortability and like understanding of myself of who I am, then it's like I kind of just like relinquished control or kind of surrendered in a way, if you will. And I think it was like allowing the universe to like show the way for me. And like at first it was kind of like unconscious of me doing it, but after a while it was like I could see like the progression. I could see the trail of breadcrumbs that I was following, and like looking back in hindsight, I could see it even clearer of this path that kind of like has led me in this kind of just pull of, yeah, me really trusting my gut and intuition.
Yeah, and that's like a side effect of awakening. Like I talked about this with my mentor. Like people say they talk about awakening a lot. It's like, well, what does that even mean? And for us, the definition of awakening is realizing like you're connected to everything that is. Like you are the universe, you are infinite. You're not little me. Like people talk about the ego. In Latin, ego literally means I. So it's like that sense of I-ness. Like I have brown hair, I'm wearing a gray shirt. But it's like, no, you're none of that. Like you're everything and nothing at the same time. So when you're awake, that's when you can start trusting because it's like you're not trusting this self, you're trusting your true self, which is everything. And then it becomes like a flow. I don't know if that made sense to you,
I
but
love
I'm
that.
just
That
riffing.
made perfect sense to me. Yeah, realizing that we are infinite, we are source, we are all, and kind of having like ego death experiences like that of realizing how connected we all are. It's profound, yeah.
Yeah. So we had this journey. First you went down the dark conspiracy path, which a lot of people stay stuck there. I don't find that that really does anything positive. So it's all like it's all an evolutionary journey. So you get, you start doing your healing, then you start, you know, learning Reiki, becoming a Reiki master, and then um, I wanted to talk about like your ayahuasca experiences and what made you want to try that and how has that been for you? How has that changed you?
Absolutely. So before I get into that, I want to kind of like sidestep into the second part of my spiritual awakening. That was kind of like
Mhm.
stage one, what we went through. Stage
Okay.
two was actually about 5 years ago now, at the beginning of COVID. After I kind of put my life together, working a job, having a place and, not being homeless, and really getting my life together, that kind of was like stage one of my journey. Then came stage two in the beginning of COVID. I had the option to either go back to work part time or work or stay on unemployment, and ended up not working for about a year, a little over a year actually. And the first couple months, so a little bit of history, I was completely clean for 4 years and then kind of started drinking and smoking and doing psychedelics and nothing crazy, still manageable. Then in the beginning of the first 4 months that I was off work, kind of went down the deep end, started drinking a lot more, started smoking in like an unhealthy way, and had this like profound awakening of like, oh my God, what am I doing? I have so much time. What am I doing with my life? And that was kind of like a profound realization for me. And really, it was when I started delving into a lot of the esoteric topics and really getting deep into meditation and yoga. And that's really when the synchronicities started happening. And like one thing led to another. Then I started using psychedelics for with intention and profound experiences. Exactly what you were talking about, complete ego deaths of seeing myself born, complete, it's kind of scary having these experiences, realizing like, oh my God, I'm not this body. one of the most profound ego deaths that I have was like living literally like 1,000 lives in the course of a couple minutes. And it's like I just kept shedding and shedding and shedding. And it's like, who am I? What is this? What are we doing here? And yeah, it's kind of like once you're aware that like you're not this body, you're this higher self, like you're a soul that is infinite, then you have a completely different understanding of life. So that's kind of like where my journey with psychedelics led. And ayahuasca is something that I've known about for, about 10 years and knew the first time I heard about it I was gonna do this. I remember telling one of my friends, and he's like, "Why would you do that?" Like he knew about it too, and he's like, "That's insane!" Like, and I was set on doing this like 10 years ago, so it's something that's always kind of been with me. And they say the medicine will call you, and it called me for sure. So I've been working at the Cheesecake Factory for about 10 years now, and right at the beginning of the year, my wrist was really starting to hurt. I have carpal tunnel in my wrist. The universe has been telling me like, hey, it's time to shift out of this, focus more on your energy healing, been developing this coaching program and it was really, and I needed to take time off work. It was the first time that I like really am like, okay, I'm taking this time for myself. Like, yeah, I took like a month off. And yeah, within the first couple days, I'm like, oh, this is like kind of cool. Like it's so nice, it's so refreshing. I was like living in flow, kind of just like tapped in, and and so one of my friends tells me to follow this guy on Instagram, the Certified Health Nut. And the next day, I'm sitting on my couch, opening up Instagram. The first video that pops up just starts automatically playing. Ayahuasca could be a great tool in your spiritual journey if enlists exactly what I've been through. If you've done a little bit of work, if you are experiencing synchronicities, and like just was my journey. An hour later, I go to Starbucks and I was like not even drinking caffeine at the time. It was like the first time I was like having a coffee in like a long time. And the car in front of me had DMT in the license plate. I was like, "Oh man, I think it's time. I think this is like signs that I'm supposed to do ayahuasca." And yeah, this was like December 14th and the idea said like do it before New Year's. Do it like around New Year's. That would be a great way to start 2025. And yeah, that's kind of like what led me looking into ayahuasca retreats. And yeah, I found rhythmia and yeah, had a profound week there. Yeah.
Okay. That Thank you for sharing all of that with me. And it's like hearing your journey, it's good for me, but also the audience to know like your healing journey isn't linear. It's not like you start here and it's just like sunshine and rainbows better all the way up. Like you're gonna go, it's gonna ebb and flow. There's ups and downs always. But it's like even when you're in a down phase, you're still learning lessons. You're still getting better on some level. So we know like I guess it's good to have an understanding of it's not recreational, it's for like certain people who qualify to have that experience who feel that they need maybe a deeper perspective on things that are deep in their unconscious that maybe haven't come out to the surface yet. And that's, I mean, people literally will purge, like they'll throw up, they'll shit all over themselves because, like, that's, and I've not done it. I'm not recommending for others to do it, but you're purging. So, like, can you talk about how, like, it can be messy, but it can be like profound. Like, what is that like?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, yeah, it's a good preface to not tell everybody to do this. You'll know if it's time, You'll hear this, like there's things that will happen in play in order for you to become aware of the process of being called to the medicine. But yeah, the purging, really, you touch on it, like uncovering, bringing up stuff from the past. And I feel like touched the surface on like doing shadow work, and I kind of like relived and gone through and journaled about a lot of the traumatic events in my life. But this brings all of that to the surface, you know. The first night I had profound realizations, you know. It's easy to see like the big events in your life that have kind of like the big traumatic events in your life. This brought up all the little traumatic events. One of them was my brother and I laughing at the dining room table during dinner. One of us started laughing, he started laughing, I started laughing. Before we knew it, we're just uncontrollably laughing over nothing, you know, just 8, 9-year-old kids just being kids. And my parents freaked out, sent us on timeout, and like seeing how that moment like disconnected. It's like when you're a kid and you're told not to do something, it's like that cuts you off from that emotion, you know? One of them was even younger when I was in elementary school. I dressed up all nice. I had a button-up shirt on my birthday, and we were playing kickball. And I'm running home, and I fall in the mud, like get mud all over me. I start crying, and I've literally been depressed on like every single one of my birthdays. And like in that moment under the medicine, I'm like, oh my God, like this moment literally shaped every birthday that I've had since then. And just little things like that came up where it's like, it's very interesting to see how those very specific, even like the big events, obviously, but even the little events shape the person that you are today.
Yeah, and I wonder if you ever had even thought of that consciously. And it just goes to show like there's always more work that can be done. Because yeah, it's like peeling an onion and there's just trying not to
So
make a Shrek.
true.
Yeah. But yeah, that's yeah. That's super profound. And I so before Bobby went down to Costa Rica, like we hung out for coffee and we were just talking about everything. And I kind of like wanted to talk about light beings because I had an experience. This is where this is getting out there, but it's good. So I had an experience like I saw this light being that was like acquainted with Robert, and it was like its hand was like um out here like this, like telling Robert like come to me, and um it just felt so acquainted, and then I feel like Robert kind of had like a Christ consciousness experience, and also the fact that he looks like Jesus. So I kind of want to talk about like what was that experience? What's Christ consciousness mean to you, and what do you think about this reality that we live in? Like, because I know you know that it's not just solid what you can touch and see. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, so the reality that we live in, I feel like, is so limited what we actually see. Like from a quantum standpoint, we're 99.9% empty space. You know, this is all energy. We're all perceiving very limited of what's going on here. Um, yeah, and so back to the light being, and I'll give a little backstory. In my preparation, there's a very strict diet of preparing for ayahuasca. No drinking, stay away from loud music, no salt, um, no smoking. You want to be very pure. So knowing this, wanted to prepare myself. And one of the things I did to prepare myself was go through a hypnotherapy session with Ben. And which was absolutely amazing. I had a profound experience, you know, l- releasing limiting beliefs, his technique of moving around and using different auditory cues. It's very in depth and immersive. So it was a great experience. And afterwards, he tells me about this light being that's reaching out his hand. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Like, I want to know more. So. on the last night of the ayahuasca ceremony, I feel like I got a lot of like night one of the ayahuasca ceremonies was a lot of like realizations. Night two was actually absolute hell for me. Tossing, turning, flailing, literally like one of the most uncomfortable experiences of my life. But ultimately, after hours of going through hell, led to one of the most profound and peaceful meditations I've ever had in my life. And night three was filled with love and kind of like this Christ consciousness. And night four, after I kind of got all the stuff out of the way, I feel like I released a lot of trauma and yeah, pretty much was ready to kind of like experience more, like ask more about my future and this idea of the light being came to me. I'm like, oh man, I want to connect with this being that was behind me during the session with Ben. And I'm reaching out, I'm connecting, I'm like, hey, who are you? What's your name? Instantly get Chris. And I think the name Christ. I'm like, Christ, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. And just profound, overwhelming sense of love. I've never felt more love in my life. And I feel like that's what we're moving into. That's what the shift into 5D is. We're moving from our lower chakras and we're moving into the heart. We're moving into unconditional love. It starts with unconditional love of yourself, and that radiates to everybody. And that's ultimately the consciousness that I think we're all stepping into. You know, it starts with a few of us and it ripples and it ripples and you know, soon it's going to be all we know.
Yeah, that's that's crazy. Like I wish I could remember what it was, but there's something about I should even reference, but something about like monks meditating or like people if a few people meditate a frequency, it affects like way out there. And I totally think that's true, where like it's so important for us to raise our vibration, not just for us, but for everyone around. So like when you're in that highest frequency of enlightenment, the omega point, other lower frequencies like anxiety, anger, guilt, shame, like it kind of it's like a spell. They just get eradicated. The point is, like, it all starts with you. Like, don't try to change the world outside. Try to change the world inside, and that's how, paradoxically, we change the world outside. So all these people that are like trying to control and complain and like I totally understand, but it's like you're never gonna change shit until you change what's in here, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. The studies that you're talking about, it's if 10% of a population are meditating, crime rate drops, hospital visits drop. You know, it's true. What happens inside radiates. And I love thinking, you know, like about it like this. Once you are able to overcome something or, you know, go through something, and you heal from it, you unlock that capability for other people to do the same, you know. They don't even have to know it. They just it subconsciously ripples out. And yeah, it's profound to have that kind of realization.
Super profound. And so before we went live, we were talking about right now you're kind of going through a journey of cleansing, kind of literally and metaphorically cleaning up some lifestyle habits. And you're also working on an immersive coaching program. So could you talk about the journey that you're on now and what you're working on with this coaching program?
Absolutely, yeah. So the journey that I'm on now, it really started with ayahuasca. You know, I've after a lot of these things came up, it's like, okay, now I have this understanding now. What do I do with it? And it's kind of like a matter of integrating and releasing it, you know? The coaching program that I am developing, it pretty much is following my healing journey, you know? It follows a sure framework that I came up with: stabilize, uncover, rewire, and expand. So, step one is about learning to regulate your nervous system, about incorporating healthy routines. Once you kind of like learn the importance of proper breathing and how to, breathe through your stomach. A lot of people breathe in their chest, and like learning to breathe through my stomach has been crucial. So once you kind of stabilize and you kind of have these tools to regulate your nervous system, then it's really like uncovering what are the patterns, what are the thoughts, what are the beliefs, the limiting beliefs that are really holding you back. And yeah, the ayahuasca definitely kind of fast tracked that, and there's definitely other ways to do that through shadow work and journaling. And that's more of the approach I take in my coaching program. And Rewire gets into more of changing habits and developing, different ways to learn about habit stacking and rewire your brain. Expand definitely gets more deeper into kind of what I'm going through now about finding purpose and learning how to create the life that you really want to live consciously. So yeah, my own journey from since doing the ayahuasca is kind of really I've again living through intuition about really cleaning up all aspects of my life. A lot of like what I'm doing and posting on social media, and there's like a lot of imposter syndrome. It's like, who am I to, inspire? Who am I to tell people what's best? Or, really it came down to I need to authentically be the person that I know will inspire people. And yeah, really with that comes down to cleaning up all aspects of my life, my diet, my what I'm taking in, what I'm watching on TV, how much time I'm spending on social media, all of it. And yeah, the last couple bits of things that I've, cut out is nicotine was a huge one for me to give up. That was very difficult. Caffeine, actually, just last week. Oh, well, actually, I started a parasite cleanse last week. That was kind of like the last of the detoxification, which has been very interesting so far. But yeah, really just cleaning up all aspects of my life to embody the life that I'm trying to help others live.
Hmm. You said something that I was interested about called habit stacking. I've not heard of that. Could you talk about kind of what
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is?
So James Clear has a book called Atomic Habits. He really goes in depth into this, where it's building on something that you already do. So say you want to start a meditation practice. The best thing to do is to stack it onto something you already do. In the morning after you brush your teeth, make it a habit to meditate, before you go to bed, before you do whatever you do at night before you brush your teeth again. You could, meditate and really just kind of stacking things on your what you already do. And that's kind of what I've done to develop my morning routine. It really kind of just started with meditating. Then after I meditate, now I do yoga. Now after I do yoga, I'll do some breath work. And yeah, really, you could kind of just keep stacking these habits. And yeah, it's a very powerful way to incorporate new habits into your life.
Wow. That's very yeah, it sounds like you have things like really dialed in right now and you're in a really good spot, and that's totally the truth that for us to move forward, we have to clear out the old first before we can make way for the new. We got to shed that skin before we can get that new layer going. So I think that's important for all of us to think about, okay, we know what we want, which is great, but what is not serving us anymore? What can we get rid of? What can we declutter in our house that has dark or like tainted energy that needs to go? Like it's important to have a cleansing, a decluttering kind of system going so that we can come into a newer version, and we're always evolving. Like there's never going to be a moment where like like I have no more work to do. It doesn't mean we're not happy now. It's just like, that's how everything ebbs and flows, everything goes in cycles. Um, but that's been super super interesting. So definitely check out Robert for his coaching program. his Reiki sessions. We're gonna link to his website, his contact information, socials, um, in there. And definitely, if you are interested in doing a Reiki session with me, you can check me out at benjaminreiki.com. That's gonna be in my channel bio as well. And if there's anything else that Robert wants to add, um, it, let's go ahead. But it's been an honor, and I thank you so much for being as open as you are, because I think that's really important, and not everybody can do that. And I think the audience is really going to appreciate that. So thank you.
Absolutely, much appreciated and great having this conversation. And yeah, I appreciate you as a person.
Okay. Thank you. So like I said, we're gonna have all of Bobby's info in the description, so you definitely should check it out. And thank you guys. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye.